Hi, welcome to the Ellis Talker Show. I'm DV LeBron. Today, my very special guest is the superintendent of MISD, Dr. Belding. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, it's good to have you on. I had you on when you had first got here, and you were still trying to get your legs under you, figure out what was going on, and how's that year been?
It's been it'll be 7 months on May the 2nd, and it's been a great 7 months. I've really enjoyed meeting so many great and wonderful people that are supportive of our students and our staff in the school district, and really have worked hard to get to know the staff as best as I can and our students, and just watching them do a lot of great things. We've had a lot of success this year, and it's been a lot of fun to be part of it.
Well, I hear nothing but good stuff there about the great things you're doing in the district. So I'm glad you're here. I
Well, thank
wanted
you.
to I wanted to get you on just to get an update on things that are going on in the district. But before we
Sure.
get into the nitty gritty, I was just wanted to go ahead and kind of cover the good stuff that's been happening.
Yeah.
Some of the announcements of I know that there's a JROTC. They're well into their first year, and then you have baseball. You have the soccer state champions. You got a
Yes,
lot
we
going
do.
on here, and academics. There's so much. So just let you go ahead on that.
Okay, well, I hope you're comfortable and that we have a lot of time because we have a lot to talk about.
Let's talk.
So,
Let's talk.
but hey, you talked about JROTC, and that program is just taken off, not only with participation but with quality, and they've gone to national competitions up in Washington State, and where they were the number 10 team in the nation in orienteering, and the number 12. We had two teams. One was number 10 and the other one was number 12 in the nation. So, Colonel Bolton and his team are just doing a great job. We had their end of the year military ball last Friday night,
Yeah.
and it was just great to see so many people there from the community supporting our JLTC program. And if you go to a significant event, you see our kids presenting the colors, or just doing different parts of that and getting that experience. And I'm really, really proud of that program and how it's grown. They're doing a great job. And like you talked about, our soccer team over at Midlothian High School winning the state championship. Man, what a great day! And it was really fun for me to be down there and watch the guys play so well. They dropped, they fell behind to Wakeland 1-0 early, but as I watched that team through the year, they're scrappy, and that it just didn't even bother them. And of course, we scored 3 goals, unanswered, so to win 3-1. So really, really proud of them. And talking about state as well, wrestling. I mean, we have two state champions in wrestling. One of our particular students, he has won the state championship in wrestling 3 different years. Carson Tompkins, and he was the 5A wrestler of the year. And the other one, Eli Bierman, he was a 2-time state champ. So I'd never been to the state wrestling tournament before, down there in the Houston area, and it was really a neat event. We had kids from Heritage there, we had kids from MHS there, and it was really fun to watch how all that worked, and just the intensity of that. That is an intense sport. It's really amazing as well. On the academic side, we had a student over at MHS that was a National Merit finalist, as well as 4 other kids in the district that were National Merit commended students. And if you know anything about the National Merit program, to be a finalist, I mean, you are in the top 1 to 0.5% in the country out of that class, and that is just such a huge accomplishment, as well as the commended kids. And then our AP program continues to be really strong at both high schools. We have 141 students that were named National AP Scholars. So really, really proud of them. We had 3 students that received Academy nominations from Representative Elzey's office. And, a lot of times you're lucky to get 1 nomination, much less 3 out of our school district. So really proud of that. Our debate teams are just doing great things. Our CTE department, we had a lot of kids that just finished their phlebotomy license, as well as their CNA licensure certifications. So, there's a lot of great things going on all up and down the line academically. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the Heritage Robotics team, the Jaguars, that went to the state meet in robotics and UIL. And that's a pretty young program as well. And oh my gosh, they are on fire. It's really so fun to hear about all the things that they're doing and what they're doing. And then FFA is just tearing it up as well. Over at the Ellis County show, our kids had a great show week, as well as all the shows around the state. I mean, whether you're over at Heritage or at MHS, I mean, the kids, the FFA program, are just doing great things. And I just have to give a shout out to the ag teachers, because we held a board training. Annually, boards have to go through what they call a team of 8 training, set goals and things like this. And we did it over at the ag barn. And we had a lot of our ag kids teach us about all the things they have to do to raise their pig, and then how to show a pig. And then the 7 board members and myself, we tried to show a pig and get judged. And I didn't do very well, I'll just tell you. But the board members did really well. But they loved just hearing, how much the kids have learned through that process in that program. And, there's more to it than what meets the eye. I'll just put it that way. So it's really cool. And then sliding back over to athletics, I mean, all of our teams are just doing really well, making playoffs, having good runs in the playoffs. It's really fun to watch all of our teams, and just, it's not only how they play and the success they're having there, but how they represent our community. That means a lot to me, because whether you're at the state meet, whether you're at a district game, how we conduct ourselves says a lot about our school district and our community. And I will tell you, based on my observation, our kids, our coaches, and fans do a great job of representing Midlothian. And I've never been to a swim meet before, but I went to one this year, and that was really fun. I've been teasing people. I was the only guy there in a dress shirt and a tie. It's a little humid in those pools. I didn't think about that, but it was, I got invited, so I went, and it was really neat to watch how, that program, again, it's a fairly young program for us. What they, how they compete, the events, and all of that. And that particular group, we appreciate Duncanville High School letting us use their facility to work out, and those kids go there at 5 a.m. to do their workouts. So that they are highly committed, and there's a lot of kids that are participating in swimming. Tennis is just going great guns. I mean, it's really, we've got district champions in tennis. I could go on and on. I mean, really every activity, powerlifting, we had state qualifiers in powerlifting. I mean, it's just every single activity on the athletic side is just really doing well. And we just, appreciate our coaches and our athletes for that time and commitment. We've got spring football going on right now, getting ready for next season. So, it just never stops, right? I mean, they're playing and preparing for the next season already. And then fine arts wise, being a former band director, I really love watching our bands and hearing them. I mean, they sound fantastic. Our bands, they don't really have a season. They just go from one event to the next and work through it. We had a student make all-state band this year from MHS. And if you don't know much about that process, you literally have to audition against thousands of kids around the state, no matter what your instrument is, and to be able to do that. And there are live auditions. It's not a tape recorded situation. You're doing live auditions all the way through the process. So to get to the all-state band is significant. And then we were just designated as one of the best communities for music education for the 6th consecutive year. And that's a significant award, and not very many communities get that. So really excited about that. And then, hey, if you don't have anything going on May 24th, you need to get a ticket to the Broadway Dallas nominations and the awards, because both of our musicals from Heritage, I think it was Big Fish, and then from Midlothian High School, which was Chicago, received nominations, against other high schools for that evening. Heritage got 1 nomination, MHS received 8, and actually we'll have some MHS students performing that night. It's like a Tony Awards, but it's for Texas high schools and the musical productions. And you actually have people from the Broadway Dallas nominations, come and see your performance, and then be able to nominate you and go through that process. So that's a very prestigious award, and really, really fun. And I hope you got to see the drill team's spring show. I went to see Heritage's last Saturday, and it was In Their Element was the title. And that team won a national competition as a drill team, and they did a phenomenal job. On their spring show. And then MHS had their spring show. The Pantherettes had their spring show the week before, and both of them were just fantastic. And we have such talented kids, and those directors, just all the time that they pour into the kids, whether it's choir, dance, theater, band, all of those fine arts, our visual arts. We had kids, going to the state competition in art. So, I mean, just so many things going on that are right. And then, you look at the elementary level or junior high, Destination Imagination. We have 4 teams going to globals. I think we had 7 teams that went to state. So that shows a lot of strength there, and just all the great experiences that our kids are getting pre-K through 12 in the district are phenomenal. Really, really proud of them. Proud of our staff for giving the kids those opportunities, and our community for supporting that.
Good job, kids, on all of those different sports. I remember going to a meeting where they were just on the ground floor starting that JROTC. Couldn't get a better man, Lieutenant Colonel Bolton. I mean, he's on it, and I think it's First Sergeant. I forget his name.
Guy.
Guy.
First Sergeant Guy.
Yes, First Sergeant Guy. Great guys. They're always looking for help and supporting the community. So if you guys want to support JRTC, I highly recommend it. The more you support them, the bigger they get, the more they do with these kids, and the more they can compete. So make sure you try to get involved with that and reach out to MJROTC.
And if you've never been to the state track meet, we have 3 kids going to the state track meet. I think it's this weekend. If you've never been to the state track meet down at UT Austin, it is just a phenomenal event that UIL puts on. And it's, to get to the state track meet, like you talk about JROTC, I mean, and those experiences, I mean, when the kids to get there, I mean, they are running against the top tier talent in the state, or throwing, whatever their event might be. And, our region this year, I think, was out in Lubbock, our region track meet. And, our kids had to go all the way to Lubbock to compete at the regionals. Had some bad weather as well. But, that level of competition is just very stout, right? And so that state track meet is really, really neat. And so I'm excited for the 3 students that have qualified that'll be there. We had 1 student actually qualify in the shot put and the discus, both. And I don't think that happens very often. So that's really cool.
Kids are doing big things.
They are.
I'm glad that they're definitely doing good. Unfortunately, we got to move on to the stuff that's not fun. There are some challenges facing the district. I watched the first budget workshop, and I saw that we are running we're going to have like a $6 million deficit, but the district found like 1.5 million in savings that they clawed back. And then, there was some more other stuff that needed done. So the board members have some really hard decisions. But what I want to know, as in them, because you have to, folks, the superintendent doesn't do the political side. This is where you get the nuts and bolts of the district. So what happened? How did we end up with a deficit of $6 million?
Sure. Well, first off, I just want to assure everyone, this is not an expenditure issue. Okay. Nobody's overspent their budget. Nobody, wasn't accounting for that. This is a revenue issue. Okay. So as I talked to the board members about that, first off, we're a growing district. And so when you're growing, it's hard to 100% accurately predict how much you're going to grow. So that enrollment that we predicted, we did grow, but we just didn't grow as much as we thought we would. And so, the demographer that does the work for us, they have a date that they kind of designate that they'll project your enrollment off of. And we call it PEEM Snapshot Day is what we call it in the school business. And it's the last Friday of October. was what that day is. Okay. And so as of that last Friday of October, they said that we would be at a particular enrollment. Well, we were about 340 kids less than that. And so because the way that state funding is generated for us in Texas, it's based off of enrollment and attendance, and you do a calculation to get what we call average daily attendance, which is ADA. Okay. And that's what we're paid off of. And we're paid off of a basic allotment of $6,160 per ADA. Okay. So with that, when you're running, you budgeted off of more students than what you're experiencing, then that's going to reduce your revenue. And that's a little over $2 million of a reduction in revenue because of that. Okay. And I think there are different reasons for that. I mean, I came in October. I mean, when I got here, the budget's established, and I began to ask some questions. And I don't know about you, but I was driving home and I'm real observant. So I'm looking around and seeing these housing developments that are there. I see streets put in, I see, infrastructure put in, but I don't see any building going on. And that's puzzling, so usually developers, once they have their investment in that development side of it, they want to build the homes to recoup their investment. And so I think there was a pause of new housing that was being constructed in the district that when that projection was generated, wasn't necessarily anticipated in things of this nature. So I think interest rates were part of that. I think, and we all know the economy, and the economy is going to impact us, right? So I think that's a big piece of this puzzle. So that revenue, we've lost that amount of revenue off of what we projected. The other part of that is there's this thing we call SHARS. Okay, it's a kind of a Medicaid program. It's a school health. I don't remember what the other acronym stands for. And we have tons of acronyms in education, so I try not to overuse them. But and SHARS, there's a time and effort study that Texas submitted to the federal government several years ago. And the federal government basically disagreed with that study and lowered the reimbursement rate. That's my understanding. And they lowered the reimbursement rate on that. And so we right now are projecting a $1.2 million reduction in revenue over what we planned when the budget was created because of that reduction in that reimbursement rate. Okay. So there's another 1.2 million. So that's about 3.2 there. And then one of the things in the school finance system, and it is highly complex. I mean, we could spend hours and hours talking about school finance.
Yes.
And even then, it's hard to really get your head wrapped around it unless you deal with it every day. Okay. And even like the basic allotment that I described, that's how much each ADA is the state is giving us in aid, right? And or state funding, I should say it that way. And so that basic allotment hasn't been adjusted since 2019. Okay, that's the last time the state did anything to that. And we all know the world is significantly different now than it was in 2019. After COVID, the inflation that we've experienced and all that. So all these costs are going up on us. And so that basic allotment hasn't really adjusted. But one of the pieces I really want to talk about in our school finance system is as your local property values and your local revenue goes up in the system, the state revenue is reduced. Okay. And there's a reason for that. And I already alluded to how complicated the school funding system is, and it has to be for a state like ours. I mean, the needs of districts down in the valley versus out in West Texas versus on the coast versus deep East Texas versus North Texas are really different. All of our communities are different, right? And so you've got to have a really robust and complicated system to help account for that and give all districts kind of a floor and a foundation. And so as districts have more property values that they can then receive revenue from, and it goes up, then the state part's going to go down to help keep things on an even playing field around the state. So the system is really designed for districts to stay right here. So as your local values may go up and your local taxpayers are helping you and giving you more, the state goes down some, again, to keep you right here. The only way in Texas to to really gain more revenue in the system is, and this is very simplistic, there's way more to it than this, but is through higher enrollment and therefore higher ADA. And so we lost by when our values went up and we got the final T2 values from the controller. They do a study and then they look at local values assigned by the appraisal district versus the controller values, and they assign one of those. And there's a confidence interval. It's a whole process with that.
Mm-hmm.
Once the controller assigns it, then that's what the number TEA uses to give us a state aid. Okay. So when our values went up on that T2 value, we lost about, our projection now is about 3 million in state aid. So that, when you add all that up, that's where you get there.
Yeah, now, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but even with the demographer, from what I understand, came in at like 4.5 because he was seeing with everything he had put together, it was like 4.5. And there were some people warning that might be an issue, but you weren't part of that process. That was on the political side. But as far as when it happened, there were different things thrown around by different people about what the numbers were for enrollment. But and I know you're probably going to allude to this, but you were talking about the ADA funding, and our daily attendance was somewhere around 95%. And you wanted to work on that. And then there's one thing I wanted to commend you in the budget talks. You were like, we should think about 1.5 on the demographer, on the growth, that we should plan on 1.5, which is more conservative. If we have to go up, then jolly would go up. If we, but when we have to go back, there's an issue. And I want to commend you on that. But can you speak on that 95% rate?
Yes. Yeah. And hey, thanks for asking that. So, I talked about how we get that average daily attendance, which is the number that the state's paying us off of. It's the enrollment multiplied by your attendance rate is how you get your ADA. They got to back pre-K out of there totally, because your pre-K students, even though it's a full day program, only get a half an ADA. Okay. So you got to back them out, then put them back in once you do that calculation. So here's the thing. Before COVID, in our school district, our attendance rate for the year was like 96.5% typically. Okay. That was a typical year. Might be a little bit higher, some years a little bit lower. So that's about where we ran. Well, last year, I think we're at 94 point something percent attendance rate. This year, we're just a little bit over 95% attendance rate. So we're starting to recover, but it's really important, A, for kids to learn, we need them in class. Okay. And it's really, really important. And B, on the funding side, that attendance rate is helping drive that average daily attendance number, which is, it's on the business side. That's how that state aid is calculated and generated. So based on our estimates right now, based on this year's enrollment, if we went up a half a percentage point in attendance, that would add $375,000 of revenue to the district. If we go up a full percentage point, that's $750,000 in additional revenue. If we got back to about where we traditionally were before COVID, we would be pushing probably that $850,000 of more revenue than we're experiencing right now, just because of the attendance rate.
Now, Dr. Belding, you also had disenrollments, kids that left the school for various reasons, and how did that affect? How does that affect when they disenroll? Do they fall off of that ADA, or that still counts against the school district?
Well, obviously, if kids aren't enrolling or like we came in less than what we anticipated, then we're not getting paid off of that, right? And at all, that's not generating that state revenue. So if they're here for part of the year, and let's say they move to across the state or to another district, things of this nature, then when they were here, then that counts in there. But once they leave, then you're right. I mean, they're not enrolled anymore. They're not part of that calculation. And I want to reassure everybody, we're growing. Okay, we grew in enrollment this year. We just didn't grow as much as we projected to grow. I think that's the key. And as traditionally a fast growth place, man, it's a bit of an art, because if you say, hey, we're just gonna budget and staff off of no growth at all. Okay, so we're just gonna go with who's here at the end of the year, or on that Peam Snapshot Day, that's what we're going to work off of. And then we grow 5, 6, 7%. Well, that's another 5, 6, 700 kids. Well, now we're understaffed and our class sizes are inflating on us. Okay, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So you know that's a spot you don't want to be in. You don't want to be looking for a second grade teacher in October to create a
All
new
right.
class and stuff. On the flip side, what we experienced this year, and it happens to fast growth districts sometimes because growth is not a linear line. It's more of a stock market. It's going to be doing this, but you trend up over time. You have years like this every now and then on that enrollment, and so it's trying to find that balance and that sweet spot of what makes the most sense, and that's where we did an internal process and looked at that and really applied more of about 1.5% based on what we know. Now I do know the housing market is picking back up for us. I can see the houses going up. There's a particular area that I drive by almost every day and I watch. And
Growth.
yeah, all of a sudden, they're going vertical and there's probably 10 homes under construction in that spot, right? Down up in the northern sector of the district, you're seeing some things re-energize and start to go again, and over in the eastern sector as well. So it's starting to pick back up. And we think if interest rates really, some people have talked about interest rates for mortgages getting down back in the fives. If that happens, I think it's going to really take off on us. And we don't want to be significantly behind the curve on that because all of a sudden, we don't have enough teachers and we don't have enough classrooms for kids. And we're all about serving kids, right? So it's a balance, and it's definitely a work in progress to keep a handle on it. That's one reason why I think traditionally in the district, we did returning enrollment for students that were returning. We opened that up in mid to late July. Well, we've already opened it up now. Now, I wanted to encourage everybody to get in and register and let us know, because we need to make decisions and staff off of that. We've really worked hard at getting word out about kindergarten enrollment, pre-K enrollment for next year. That way, we have a really good idea of the number of kids. And again, I don't want to need to look for a kindergarten teacher on August the 5th, because all of a sudden we had an influx. And I've lived that life before. I've been there. And that's part of being fast growth. But we really want to have people help us and go ahead and enroll your kids. We had a great kindergarten roundup last week. And we've got these really cute shirts that we're giving the kids when they enroll. And they're going to be the class of 2037. So get your mind on that for a little bit,
2037.
2037. That's really cool, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, wow, it feels like we just got into the 20 teens to me. But
I commend you though, because I have seen that push that you made for getting people to, hey, if you're going to be back next year, let us know. That will help you. That will help the district folks plan, like he was saying, plan forward when they're doing the numbers, and they're in the early talks of budget, but they're getting into the nitty gritty here soon, and knowing what those kids, what's committed, will help with that. So,
well, and something else that people don't think about a lot of times is like at the secondary campuses, whether it's middle school or high school, and the kids submit their course choices, what courses they want to take. I want to take this AP course, this dual credit course, or, this elective, that elective. And we get all that information and we look at those numbers, and then we staff off of that, because we need to make sure that we've got the teachers in place to handle whether it's an AP English class or an honors English class or a regular English class, and then, one thing I know people can get frustrated with is at the beginning of the year and kids are wanting to change their schedules, and we're somewhat resistant to that. It's because we've staffed and we can't just turn some of those things on a dime, right? Because you have to have lead time to do that. Now, we want to do what's best for kids ultimately, and we'll make those changes or make changes. But we certainly want to have a conversation about it, because all that staffing is happening right now to get ready for August. And it's something that we need a long runway, so to speak, in order to make some shifts.
So Fort Worth is closing down schools. It's bad. They have other districts that are dealing with this. So we're not the only district. That, matter of fact, Waxahachie has an issue. I'm trying to get on Dr. Hollingsworth and kind of talk about that. But I mean, none of the schools are immune to this. So As far as us or MISD as it stands, what are your budget priorities that you're presenting to your from the district side? What is the budget priorities you want to get to? And I mean, does it look like we're going to lose positions? We're going to lose classrooms? What does it? How do we make that money? What's it looking like as far as from your? Because I know there's political decisions behind that, but from what you're seeing, the numbers.
Well, first off, as we realized that we had a deficit and we got busy real fast, okay, and you alluded to this when you kind of opened this part of the conversation up about we've already identified savings, and I'm really proud of the team for getting busy, mobilizing, and conserving every expenditure possible. And as a guiding philosophy, when we internally talked to staff about this, I said we need to protect the classroom and the student experience. Okay, those are the two main priorities. Obviously, we want to take care of our teachers and our staff because without them, we can't have school. Okay, but that classroom and student experience, and so we've done our best to keep the expenditure savings as far away from those two things as possible. And so we've got particular positions as we're ending the year that maybe were vacated that we are decided not to fill for the rest of the year to save that salary money. Travel budgets, not student travel, but staff travel budgets reduced, or just not going to travel for the rest of the year to conferences or things like this. And looking at like our transportation department, leveraging going into the open market for fuel as opposed to doing a contract. So we're trying to find the places that can sell us diesel at a lower rate to save money. And we've already saved some money on that. So and really pushing like utility savings, turn off lights when you're not in a room, making sure all that stuff that you would do at your house, right? I mean, that's where you start. And so and I basically tasked our department heads and our principals and our executive cabinet. Okay, I want you to go analyze your budgets and for the end of this year and for next year, okay, for 24, 25 as well. You go look and you know where your pressure points are and what needs to be protected. I don't necessarily know that, right? And so I want you to go identify that savings. And then we went through a month and sat down with each principal, each department head, and analyzed, had them bring back what they would propose to save. And I will tell you, people stepped up to the plate in a big way. And that's how we were able to identify, pushing $2 million in expenditure reductions for 23, 24, and then looking ahead to 24, 25, cutting the expenditures by 15% and on the operational side. Now, one thing about our budget that people need to understand, or I hope you can understand, is 83% of our maintenance and operation budget is tied up in the salaries. 83% of that. Okay.
Yep.
17% is in the operation side. Mm-hmm. So if you're running a significant deficit and you're upside down, I mean, you're not going to balance it all through on the operation side. You're going to have to look at some positions, and we've had people, just again step up to the plate in a big way, and taking on more responsibility. Our campuses have done that. Our custodial crew, our central admin, everybody is going to assume more responsibility because that way we can, through attrition, reduce positions. Made a decision early on that I would not recommend to the board any kind of a forced layoff, or in the education world, we call it a reduction in force. So we call that a RIF. I was not going to recommend that any like position reductions we would approach through attrition. So that way it was voluntary and things of this nature. And we've had, some people choose to retire maybe a little earlier than they anticipated, but they felt like it was the right thing to do for the district. That shows you the heart of our people, right? Mm-hmm. And things. So that's how we're approaching this. And when you say how are we going to get there, I think that's a significant path to getting there. But there are hard choices because we did not give a substantial raise last year. And so I know the board is fully committed to a salary increase for teachers and staff for next year. And we're trying to find a way to find that path. And I'm a firm believer there is a path. There is a path. We just have to find it, and we have to fight through to get there. And again, our staff, I just can't brag on them enough for how people are stepping up. And it's small actions too. It's not like this big, bold, grandiose thing necessarily, but it's little things that they're saying, hey, I can do this, I can do that, or hey, I found this savings here. And like I tell them, I mean, $1,000 expenditure savings, after a while that adds up. Every dollar matters. And I think the district has been good stewards of resources in the past, but I think we're really stepping up to be great stewards right now. And
your next level.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Next level.
And we're not perfect. I mean, there are going to be some tough choices and things that we don't want to do, that we may have to ultimately to get there. Luckily, the district has a really strong fund balance, which is our savings account. And so like this year, if we come in ultimately about a $4.5 million deficit, which is almost $2 million reduction in what we thought it would be early, we've got the savings account to absorb it for a year, maybe two. But after that, we've got to get what I would call back right side up. And that could happen with enrollment growth, attendance rate growth. It could happen if the legislature helps us some, out of the regular session when they meet starting in January 25 with that basic allotment. I mean, there's multiple paths forward.
So there could be a fund balance bridge right now that we may have to. I know you're looking at all kinds of options, and
yes,
I don't envy you, because that is a rough thing, especially since you haven't been here that long, and now you're dealing with a budget deficit. So thank you for explaining that for the parents of Midlothian. I know that some of that folks, I've been doing these interviews with superintendents and the CFOs of school districts for 4 years, and no, I don't got it. I really don't. It gets really complicated, but they're definitely there's going to be some tough choices ahead. So I appreciate you.
Let me say this too. I mean, like you talk about our CFO. Our CFO Sandy Bundrick has a tool that we call the template, and it's a funding template that, as the year progresses, all of our numbers change, right? And because it's not just ADA, but there are things called weighted ADA in there, like our CTE programs. There's a little bit of a weight when the student's in that class. And so everything impacts, right? And so that template continues to help us project revenue. And that's how, when she runs that on probably at a minimum a monthly basis with updated numbers and things, that's how we could identify, hey, okay, all of a sudden our revenues dropped, and part of it was the SHARS, part of it was that enrollment, and then part of the ADA, and then when those T2 values were solidified in January. So, a school budget is not just like, well, here's how much money you're going to have to spend, and here's how much your expenditures are, go. It's ever evolving through the school year. And that's where, the team continues to keep a close eye on it. And that's for every school district in the state. That's not just us. Everybody is constantly watching that and moving through it. And when I was at Millsap ISD, a small 3A district, I got my, the budget manager and we were running the template together. That's really where I learned it, by doing it. And so it's, again, hard to explain school finance, but I just want to share everybody, we're watching it all the way through the school year and adjusting things.
Last thing on numbers, how's our debt looking?
I think the district is in good shape as far as overall debt structure. Nobody likes debt at all. But in Texas, our system is, if you need to build a school, you need to renovate a school significantly, you need to add on to a school, you're going to have to do it through a bond program. And the board recently, not recently, I'm going to back up. The board has been committed to paying off debt early. And so they have really made that a strong focus of theirs. And so just recently, we paid off, I think it was about $15 million of debt early, which saved in interest savings for our taxpayers between $14 and $15 million of savings over the life of those bonds that were paid off early. So those are significant dollars, and really proud of the board for their commitment to that, and proud of the district for being able to leverage that.
I could go on forever with you. I've already kept you longer than I normally do the show, but we've been covering some really good things, and I think that the community needs to have this resource to look at it. When it comes to one of the things that on the social side that you've had to deal with, and there's been times when I approached you. Oh no, wait! Before I go into that, can you give a quick example on how inflation really, like something where it bigly hit you?
Sure. Well, on the inflation side, our what I would call our homeowners policy, those rates have just gone up, and ours went up less than some other people's. I think it went up 18% last year, and we felt blessed that it only went up to 18%. Some other people, their rates went up 30% or more. Utility costs, we budget about $2 million for electrical every year. That's a big number. And then safety and security. Man, as a district and a community, we're so blessed that the district and the city of Midlothian have such a good partnership with the SRO program. And there's a phase in for the district to take over the cost of all the SROs. And I can't tell you how just thankful I am to the city for helping us with that. But safety and security is job one, and we want to make sure that every one of our campuses is safe and secure. And when we have an SRO on every campus, that helps provide that, right? And so we're anticipating those expenditures to go up quite a bit next year, because again, it's a phase in over time. And I think we've got projected about a little over $2 million to spend on safety and security for next year that are ongoing costs, not like the grants of building fencing and doing the filming and things like this, but just the ongoing costs. And the state allotment for that's like $300,000 or something. So we're thankful for what the state's given us, but we sure would like a little bit more help. That'd be awesome.
Definitely. So there's been times throughout this year that I've contacted you, and I want to thank you so much for always being responsive. I know that some of these issues are delicate and can't be talked about specifically. I understand that, but you had a situation where somebody was threatening that they were gonna cause some harm, and then you had and it supposedly there was some race issue involved with that, and then you had somebody who was found with a weapon. A kid who was found with a weapon in his vehicle or something like that. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, but those were like two big incidents that happened while you've been around. That's happened recently. What's going on?
Well, first off, I want to say that the response by our SROs, by our police department, as well as the campus administration, ensured safety and made sure that intervention happened timely and quickly to ensure that we didn't have anything significant occur. Okay, so appreciate them and appreciate that and things of this nature. I really think we're seeing kids and really people in general. It's not just kids, but I mean, you think about just our society in general. People are struggling out there. And it's not everyone, but it's enough people that just seem to be hurting. Whenever you hear about issues at a mall, you hear about issues in churches at times, and you hear about issues in other gathering places. I think it just shows that people are hurting. And so to have I've been to a couple of meetings of our ministerial alliance in the community, and their heart for walking alongside people and intervening and helping. The program we have, Mentors Care, within the district, where we have community people that come in and mentor kids and help them see other possibilities. I think all those are components of intervening in a positive manner to head things off before they get to a tragedy. But I just think, when I was at the military ball for JROTC, Colonel Bolton asked me to speak, and the thing that I kind of challenged everybody to do was just, if you see somebody struggling, lend a helping hand to people. A kind word to someone, or hey, can I help you with that? Or whatever it might be. You never know what somebody's going through. You never know what experiences they're having in their life, where a struggle is. And just, just a simple act of kindness can go a long way. And then being part of volunteer organizations that go make a difference, and supporting those organizations that make a difference in the lives of people in our community. I think all of that plays in, it's not going to be one thing that addresses this. It's going to be a myriad of actions and of things to do to help people and help us be better and get on the other side of this issue that we're experiencing.
But as far as the security part of it, you're happy with how we've handled it as far as security wise. The other stuff, we definitely have to kind of a long-term view of trying to help these kids. But are you happy with the way we've handled it security wise?
Yes. Overall, and anytime that we have a situation, we do an after action review.
Mm-hmm.
And so we analyze, okay, what went well, what maybe was a gap, and what do we need to do, about that, and what do we need to reaffirm and make sure that we keep in place, right? Because you don't want to just make changes just to change something. You want to look at it and go, hey, this was strong and it worked exactly as intended. So let's keep it in place and actually make sure that we even strengthen it more, right? And so yes, overall, I think the intervention and the response was really strong. But I want to assure everyone that we do look at, when we do have a situation come up, we look at it and we analyze that response. Commander Hicks, our emergency operations person, and he's the police commander assigned to the school district. I mean, he is very intentional about that as well. And I know we'll have a new commander next year, and I've met him several times. I'm very excited to work with him, and he's also very intense about school safety. So I think that's a huge piece of it, and our staff being very intentional all through the district. So overall, yes. But again, I just want to assure everyone, we always look at it, and we always look at how we can get better to make sure that we don't have a tragic situation.
Before I move to my last topic, before I give you the mic to talk to the parents, there is a software, and I saw this in the news, that you can actually upload it to your present camera system, and it uses AI to detect weapons coming around the school. I don't know if you've heard of that. I don't know if you've seen that, Dr. Belding, but if you get a chance, check that out, because that could be something that could, save a life and not cost that much,
Well, yes, I am aware of it. And we keep our emergency operations capabilities very close to the vest for obvious reasons.
Right.
And so, again, we're always looking to get better.
Excellent. So the last thing I want to, because I've reached out to you throughout this school year, and I said, Dr. Beldin, there's an issue about some bullying, and I commend you and thank you for always being responsive. And always, I mean, the parents always say, hey, Dr. Beldin got to me. Talk to me about bullying since you've been there, because we talked when you first came on about what you want to do with it. We've had some issues that arose, and I want you to kind of speak on that.
Well, again, I think our bullying protocols are really robust. We have an executive director for student services, and she leads that effort with the campuses to ensure that we're responding the way that we need to respond. We're fully investigating things. And that's the biggest part of it. I just want to encourage parents, reach out to your campus principal, assistant principal, let them know what your concern is. Our kids need to be able to get to them and let them know when there's a concern. That way it can be fully investigated and handled. because I want all kids to be able to walk the halls and have a great positive learning environment. And we're not going to tolerate bullying. I will say sometimes not everybody agrees on the determination. But again, it's not going to be just ignored, and we're going to investigate and take the appropriate action to make sure our kids are safe and are well taken care of.
And I thank you for that. Definitely. So this is the point where I shut up and give you the mic to speak to the parents directly, because you're leading this ship, and they definitely want to hear from you.
Well, first off, I'm excited to be here. This is a great school district made up of fantastic professionals, and as I've gone and visited campuses multiple times, I see teachers that are just pouring into our students and delivering a great education to them and loving them all at the same time. And I think that's so important. Our instructional aides, our custodians, our maintenance, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers. It takes everyone to deliver a quality education and help kids have a great experience. And those of us here at the administration building, we are being visible on campuses. It's my heart to be part of it and to get to know you as parents and to get to know our kids, to make sure that everyone has just a great experience and comes out of our school district with a quality education. So thank you for trusting us with your child. That means a lot to me personally. And I truly appreciate the partnership that we have and that we are continuing to grow and strengthen as we move forward. The future is bright in Midlothian ISD, and I'm excited to get the start of school year here, not jump into this jet plane in mid-flight, but to get the start of school year here and be part of it all the way through.
Oh yeah, you came right into the fire, boy. It's been quite a ride for you. But thank you so much for serving, for having that kind of heart of kindness, because that's how I try to live my life. I think if we did more kindness in this world, we'd go a lot farther. But thank you so much for coming on. I know I was a little over, but we were getting to the good stuff. Can you stick around real quick?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you.